NorCal, 209 King of Comedy. It's Rick without the K. James presents, in my opinion, podcast.
All right, you guys, we are back with another episode of In My Opinion podcast. I have the very funny, hilarious Cody Woods here, originally from Kansas.
Yeah.
But moved out to the Bay Area. You might have caught him on Kevin Hart's, what is it?
Heart of the City.
Heart of the City here when they did the Bay Area. I asked you right before we started filming if it was Woods because I think on Heart of the City it came out as Cody Wood, right?
Yeah, and I think that came from the editor because I think he wanted to fuck with me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He told me like during the show because I think they thought I was an asshole. Like the entire production of that show, they thought I was an asshole because when they gave me the call that I got the show, I was on a Greyhound going from like St. Louis to some whatever town at like midnight, that time, not West Coast time, but I was in the East, so it was like late for me, and I'm on a Greyhound. There's these skinheads behind me that just got released out of prison.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So they call me, and they're like, "You just got Comedy Central. Congratulations." I'm like, "Thanks." Like because I didn't want to. These guys behind me.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to.
You don't want to.
So they think I don't give a fuck. They think that I'm above. They think that I think that I'm above it, but I'm happy as hell. But I can't just be, oh my God, you guys want to be on TV.
Now, there's a couple of reasons I bring that up, Cody. Is one, has that was your first TV credit, correct?
Yeah.
Has that changed comedy for you?
It changed Cody Wood, whoever that guy is. It changed his life. Because they didn't spell my name wrong. So I think they did that on purpose because when I was on set, they're just like they're douchebags except for Kevin. Kevin's cool as fuck. Everybody else was except for one production lady was awesome. But yeah, they were just hard. And I said look, I want my thing on the bottom to say Cody J Woods because I just bought this website because I'm gonna be on TV. I bought a new website, like $200, like that week. Put Cody J Woods. They deleted the J and they deleted the S.
I'm kind of dumbfounded. I don't know what to say because I just feel like sometimes that's the entertainment business for you. I will say this though. Yeah. I did watch everybody. I love everybody that made the show, man. You, Mario Hodge, G King. Everybody, I couldn't wait for you to come back up here so that way I can get you on, right? And I can't wait for G King to come back on. I've been begging Mario. We still have to finish an episode, but hopefully I don't upset anybody when I say this. Is I felt like you were the most technical out of all the comics, and I'm not just saying that because you're sitting in front of me. And I feel like, did you feel like you had to be that because you were the white comic? Yes. On there? Because you came through, and when I say technical people, for people that aren't in comedy, it was the fact that I read shit like it's a mathematical equation, right, when it comes to comedy, and you had the most punchlines per minute in there. You were bam, 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 bam. Yeah. And not saying that the other people weren't funny. I just felt like your performance stood out. But then again, I also heard from Mario that they didn't let him do his singing shit.
They didn't want him to.
They didn't let him because they would have to gotten clearance from people,
right?
And this and that, and that was like something that me and both Kabir didn't know. We were doing Kabir's podcast last weekend, and we didn't know that.
Yeah.
Where to me that's what won him the competition last week in Carson City,
right?
Because it is songs that everybody knows, but knowing that, I was like, okay, that makes a difference. But I also saw your episode, and I was just like, man, Cody came through blazing, bro.
And they deleted a lot of my punchlines.
Oh, really?
I had way more tags. I mean, that set was solid that they uploaded.
No, it was a good set.
But in real life, I murdered that crowd. Like, I fucked that crowd up. But they deleted a lot of my tags. So, you'll notice it in the edit. Like, midway through, I'll just be kind of on one side of the stage, and then out of nowhere, I'm in the middle. So I had worked 3 or 4 tags and they just sliced them. So like because the joke still works, even though I got like it's like a hamburger, you know, I got all this meat in the middle, and then they just took out the meat, but it's still like a sandwich. So they just gave me, they're like, here's this sandwich. I was like, I got a lot of meat in the middle that you guys deleted that like the crowd was going crazy for. But I think like because like my Ratchets joke, all that shit, yeah, I did that. I have a whole chunk.
How much time did they give you guys?
They gave us 10.
They gave you 10, but they cut it down to what?
To
5,
4
6?
to 5. You don't know what they're going to cut it down to. There's some Chicago comics that I know that they only gave them 1 minute because Kevin Hart wanted to do a sketch.
Nah. Well, be lucky you didn't have a sketch because you know I think you guys had a lot of time with Lunel too.
Yeah, Lunel was kind of eating up some of that time. I was like, come on, Lunel,
yeah. Which is funny
man.
because we talked about it last night. The last time I've seen you, it's been a couple of years.
Yeah.
And Lunel just happened to be here around this time of year, August, and it happened to be my birthday. And you know, I always want to do comedy. Any comic really wants to do comedy on their birthday. When you ask a comic what the fuck you want to do on your birthday, it's usually stand up, and it's usually to make everybody else laugh because you don't give a fuck. That's what makes you happy. And fortunately for me, that weekend, I think you were double booked. So you did Friday, and then you couldn't do Saturday.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know this, but again, we're gonna air out a whole bunch of dirty laundry and shit.
Okay.
I guess Lunel was upset that I was on Saturday.
Okay.
And she was kind of pissed off, and she was like, "Well, where's Cody?" And I was like, "I don't know, but I was told to come back and host these 2 shows for you tonight." And
Wow.
and I want to bring it up because it's gonna lead me into the next thing where Lunel basically told me, which is funny because I think I had met her before, and she was nice and cool, but she had like that pissed her off for one. And then she had kind of offset, and I don't want to misquote, but it was something to the effect like she didn't like the fact that my name was Ric James.
Oh.
She was like, "Oh, there you go, somebody else stealing from my people," type shit.
Ooh.
And I was like, "Okay, well, you have a wonderful night. Let me know."
Yeah.
And I kind of just let it be. Where I was like, "Man, I kind of." You know, you're kind of one of the queens of the Bay. Like,
yeah.
I don't want to piss you off, but on the other hand, you know, one, I'm thankful that you let me work on my birthday weekend, but 2, I just felt like it could have been a whole different scenario. So I don't know if word got back to you about the whole thing.
I don't know, man. I don't even remember being double. I thought I did that whole weekend because I remember she really put me on. She put me on her social media. She just took a picture with me. And then she's like, "Oh, this guy's killing it." And then all my friends from Kansas, because I went to black schools in Kansas. People thought that happened in Oakland. It did not. It happened in Kansas. I was an adult when I started comedy, and you know, like I wasn't in school. So in Kansas, went to all black schools. They saw that Lunel put me on just for a few seconds on Facebook, and then they all started hitting me up. They're like, "Oh, I've always believed in you."
They know you.
Yeah, but like I would hit them up about shows for years going out there. Nothing. But then once I'm associated, then it was like,
Which will lead me into what I wanted to talk about during this first little clip. Is I ask everybody. I think I had Mario on, and I asked him too. I said, "Do you think it's easier or harder to be a black comic?" Now, obviously, you're not a black
easier.
comic.
It's not even debatable.
But do you feel like it's
easier to be a black comic?
You think it is?
It's 100% easier to be a black comic.
And the reason,
and there's no way they can win that argument against me. I will win every time. I'll prove everything in their face.
And I asked that because we are sitting here at what is my home club. We had this conversation. I started doing comedy here. This was like the second club that you started doing here at Tommy T's. It's known as an urban club, a black club, whatever you want to call it.
It's harder having a black life. It's easier having a black career. That's a trade-off.
But I tell people as a Latin comic, even the old owner Tommy used to tell me, well, your people don't really come here, type shit. And I'm like, well, I don't do Hispanic comedy. I know you live in LA now, right? So you know the difference between my comedy and what a lot of LA Latin comics do.
Yeah.
I don't really speak Spanish in my shit. I'm not trying to get on Telemundo. I'm not trying to get on HBO Latin. I'm not trying to do any of that because, as you put it, I grew up around black folk. So I have that culture. This isn't this isn't an act that I do. This is just me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when I picked like Ric James as my stage name, it was a tribute to my favorite comedian, Dave Chappelle. So it kind of is a little upsetting when it pisses off other people because that's what I want to call myself on stage. But I'm just like, no, I'm doing it because I got so much love for the culture that I'm trying to do it. So when I look at shit like that, one of the things I told Mario, I believe, is, as I said, I feel like black comics at least help out other black comics. I said I don't feel like Latin comics do that shit.
Latin comics are competitive.
Very.
I mean, they're actually one of the worst. Like, the white guys are also competitive, but like competitive in the way that we won't help you out. We'll try to set you up for failure. Like, because like a lot of white guys do that to me. They try to set me up for failure. Because they don't want me, taking their spot. They see that I'm gonna take their spot. And what really, even though Latino comics are by far the most cutthroat, Latino males, I've seen it. Like, it'll even get physical. There's just so much. Yeah. Because Latino males are so macho. They're insanely macho. I talk about it in, like, even the way they box.
Yeah.
The way they think to win a boxing match is to literally outman. Instead of strategy, they're trying to. They're warriors. That Diaz. Yes. Yeah. That is Latino shit. Yeah. So that comes through in comedy, man. Like, I've seen so many Latino comics like dealing with beef, and I would tell them, like, guys that I love, I'm like, just get out of the circle. The white people are going to love you because they have guilt and they think they're supposed to love you. So just go perform for them. Get out of there. They're not going to, and some of the big guys, they might take you under their wing and you'd be a nice little, like a big Latino king, and then you're one of the Latino openers. But as soon as you start to rise, they're going to cut you off. And I'm not going to name names who they are, but.
Oh, I have. So
well,
don't worry.
Because it's not my place
I've got
to
a couple of clips that say "fuck George Lopez."
Oh, so he's probably another one.
Yeah, he's an asshole when it comes to Latin comics.
Right.
You know what I mean? I've had black comics like Jerry Law on here, and man, George was such a great dude, and I'm like, well, he wasn't to me, but he didn't consider you a threat.
Well, that's what's L.A. would teach you is that your type is no longer your friend, unless you're a black comic, and then you have this amazing network. They're just better networkers. They get this shit. It's a great circuit. They've learned to like survive independently because that comes from like the Chitlin circuit days, So they know how to survive in show business when show business is not fucking with them. So that's on paper. That sounds like it'd be harder being a black comic. That's actually what makes it easier, is because you could work an entire circuit. Because I paid my bills because of black shows for years. You know what I mean? Because I'm a white guy, but I was in that circuit. Mainstream never fucked with me.
Do you consider yourself? Because I was gonna say that, and I don't want to categorize you, but I feel like I was having a conversation with somebody on the way here, and they were like, "Who's this Cody Woods?" And I sent her the clip and stuff, and I was, he's kind of like I don't want to say funnier version, but I said I kind of consider him. I would consider you like a Gary Owens type.
That's what they,
see, and maybe you don't want to be considered that, right? Because I feel like you're more of a joke writer than he is. He's kind of more animated.
And plus, I can go in front of any type of crowd.
And
I mean, he probably can too, because he is a very talented, very funny guy. But he clearly has his audience, and I don't want an audience. That's my comedy. I don't want an audience. I don't want black people. I don't want white people. I don't want them. I don't want people. I just want to do my act. But because I happen to relate to black people, they're automatically like, oh, Gary Owen. But I'm like, dude, I'll go do a hipster room and do just as well. I'll go do an all Asian show.
And maybe it's only because I've seen you mostly here at Tommy T's, right?
Because this is a black club. Yeah. But see me at Punchline.
But
I'll do gluten-free jokes over there and do just as good. You know what I mean?
I don't want to categorize you in that.
Yeah, because
it's just that I've only seen you here, and I've seen you do really well. I think that's what it is. Yeah. And I think it's the fact that most white comics
can't do that.
So
just because they can't,
like, have you been?
I immediately go to the Gary Owen category, and it's not your fault. Like, everybody does that, but it's just because I have that gear. It doesn't mean it's my only gear. So and also I'm not going to stay in that gear because I'm not going to milk them. I'm not. As soon as people see white comics that take advantage of black audiences as cultural appropriators, they're done, and I'm not going to be in that lane. Sorry, I make everybody laugh. Yeah, I make black people laugh too, but I do everybody. I'm not trying to make the black dollar. I'm not trying to be like, all right, what would they like? What else would they like? Like, no, I'm writing what I like, and I just so happen to make black people laugh. Just because that was my upbringing. I can relate to that.
You heard it here first, people. No, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I tell people I'm not trying to go for that audience neither.
Yeah.
I look at the audience that grew up in my era that hip hop was coming. Like, that's the culture that I associate with, is the LL Cool J's, the Biz Markies, may rest in peace. That whole culture, and it was always kids around me, that were white, black, Asian, whatever. That it was that culture. So I want, where I find that that's what I want my audience anyways. I tell people I don't want somebody young to be my audience. I don't mind if they are, but I know that there's a disconnect. Plus, they're not the type, a 21-year-old isn't going to want to pay to see a real show anyways. And so I always look for people 25 to 55 years old.
They have money.
Somewhere in there. Yeah, someone that's good, working on their career and doing their shit.
And plus, they relate to more. They've seen more life. It's easier to make them laugh, in my opinion, because they've just seen more in life. You know what I mean? You could talk about anything. They've probably seen it. 18-year-olds, they haven't seen shit, so it's hard to, like, bring stuff up. And they'll just be like, what are you talking about? I just want to get pussy and drive fast cars.
Boy, Charlie Murphy, my main man, Ric James. That's the one you think, the comedian Ric James. Get up.
I can't hear my neighbor crying, I can't breathe.
Please hit the subscribe button down low so you can see all new clips, all new episodes coming to you.